To arrive in style, first you have to arrive.
Don't understand what's going on here.
The all-new fourth generation.
This is Lungani, aka Chocolate Kid Leo. Join our growing show, The Global Sunday. We stream live on YouTube every Sunday, 11:30 a.m. for American MT time. African time, 8:30 p.m. every Sunday. We host special guests. We give you latest news, global news, and the entertainment news. Click the link below if you want to find out more. Thumbs up and some hearts. Cheers.
Hi, my name is Ashley Christina. I go by Ash. Make time for what you love and for the people you love. Thank you for watching Global Sundays with Lungani.
What up, world? My name is Jesse Villegas. I'm originally from Phoenix, Arizona. Currently, I reside in Prescott, Arizona. I own and operate a coffee shop called The Porch. Work hard and be kind. You are watching Global Sunday with Lungani.
For those that don't know me, I'm a singer. I'm a singer who loves God. You know, I'm that singer who loves God. I sing with Him every time I ever sing. So I'm that singer that tells a story.
With anything in life,
Yeah.
there will be challenges, there will be hurdles and stumbling blocks. But I honestly think to make it, you need perseverance. Number one. Secondly, you need dedication.
Ay. But kung naman upon white ka mga dyan Lungani Koralo, aka umfana ka chocolate! Anong penizan? Nga champis. Welcome to the Global Sunday Show! It has been some time. Today we don't have a rising star. Today we have a star! Hey, Joshua namhlanje. Don't you worry. It's azobamnandi kakhulu. And I know it's been a long time. If you want to share with me, I know what you've been busy with. It's been maybe 2 months, I think. I don't know. My colleagues, maybe they will remind me how long it has been. But yeah, welcome to the Global Sunday Show. If you are watching on YouTube, welcome. If you are watching on Facebook, welcome. If you're on Instagram, you can follow us, The Global Sunday Show. You can also follow me, Lungani Kwala, or chocolatekid.leo. Hey, there's a lot to talk about today. We'll catch up later. Drop me a comment below. If you want to ask a question for our guest today, drop a comment below. Drop those likes. Tell me what you're up to. Tell me what your Sunday looks like, or your Monday if you're in Australia. I don't know where you're at. Just let me know how your day is going. But let me not waste time. Let me introduce my beautiful, lovely panel. Today I'm not gonna call you guys guests. All the way from South Africa, Tilo, aka African Thunder. All the way from Australia, Mr. David Pike. And all the way from Arizona, Mr. Ken Ludden. Welcome to the Global Sunday Show. Please take over the show.
Right, could you please take us through what your week has looked like?
My week is been very busy, but I'm sure everyone else has. I've been working with kids and going to lots of meetings, and today I'm traveling about 300 kilometers tonight, and conferences and in the studio and getting ready for a show and cleaning up the house as well. All of that. That's me.
Not a dull moment in sight.
Well, if you want to travel more than 300 kilometers, David, and clean up houses, you'd come clean up my house. Hello, everybody. This is Mr. Ludden from Arizona, from the United States. And my week has been a week of wondering what's going to happen next. We are in our monsoon season, so you never know. Is it going to rain? Is it going to be hot? Is it going to be cold? Is it going to be windy? Are meetings going to be canceled? Are they going to be on? Is the electricity going to go off from the lightning? So it's been a week of really feeling nature. But in that time, you know, I have been able to get some work done, because when you can't plan anything, then you don't have anything planned. So I've been getting a lot of work done. You know, we're about to reopen after COVID, the Margot Fonteyn Academy of Ballet. We just had a huge festival in Zagreb, Croatia, where we have one of our schools. It was very successful. I'm back here in the US, and we're just working our little buns off, you know, to get everything ready to receive students this fall.
Well, all the best, all the best. That sounds exciting and scary at the same time. All the best to you as well, Mr. Pike. Boy, have we got some beautiful surprises for you. Why don't you take a break with me so that we can get on with the show?
To arrive in style, first you have to arrive.
Don't understand what's going on here.
The all-new 4th generation.
This is Lungani, aka Chocolate Kid Leo. Join our growing show, The Global Sunday. We stream live on YouTube every Sunday, 11:30 a.m. for American MT time. African time, 8:30 p.m. every Sunday. We host special guests. We give you latest news, global news, and the entertainment news. Click the link below if you want to find out more. Thumbs up and some hearts. Cheers.
Hi, my name is Ashley DeChristina. I go by Ash. Make time for what you love and for the people you love. Thank you for watching Global Sundays with Lungani.
What up, world? My name is Jesse Villegas. I'm originally from Phoenix, Arizona. Currently, I reside in Prescott, Arizona. I own and operate a coffee shop called The Porch. Work hard and be kind. You are watching Global Sunday with Lungani.
For those that don't know me, I'm a singer. I'm a singer who loves God. You know, I'm that singer who loves God. I sing with Him every time I ever sing. So I'm that singer that tells a story.
With anything in life,
Yeah.
there will be challenges, there will be hurdles and stumbling blocks, but I honestly think to make it, you need perseverance, number one. Secondly, you need dedication.
Welcome back to the Global Sunday. Now, this week we have a very, very special guest. Anybody out there who's had a problem, is having a problem, who's had an injury, who needs to heal, anybody who has dreams and hopes that they're trying to get and just don't know quite how to put the things together, our guest today is somebody who can help pretty much everybody. Welcome, please, Tiffany Seale. Welcome.
Hello.
Hello, Tiffany. So, I don't want to say a lot about who you are and what you do, because first of all, it's so diverse. But the thing is, and I'm talking to you out there in the audience, as you get to know this young woman, you will get to understand. Okay. And so I want to ask you a question. So life as a child on a farm in the state of Tennessee, which in the United States, that's in the rural area. Okay. It shaped you who you are today. Now, while you face some very destructive challenges, what would you like to share with us about that start to your life?
Well, life on a farm is really about adaptation. As we talked earlier about the monsoon season, I can fondly remember waking up in the middle of the night and having to save our chickens from washing away from a flood. And so much of that adaptation throughout life, when you feel that society is imposing, what they want for you onto your life, you just find yourself just adapting and adapting and adapting, and you get taken away from really who we are at our core. And what we're all kind of coming into awareness of right now is going back to that center and who we are, and looking back, regardless of what any individual's upbringing is, it does shape you. One of the main points in my life that I could tell, I actually started to look at my life in a rural farm of Tennessee as a blessing. After the military, I went back to college, and I was 31 and in school with a lot of 18, 19 young people. And as a mom with 2 kids and trying to go to school full time, I recognized that life on a farm really instilled within me that work ethic. And it was no matter what else was going on, we still had a job to do. We still had work to do. We still had these things. And there were a lot of people that I was in college with that you could tell there was a disconnect. But it's too hard, but it's too challenging. Like it was always an uphill struggle versus like, all right, I'm gonna face it head on, I'm gonna conquer it, whatever it is. And so I really feel like that farm life helped instill that in me. And I would love to share that more with my children. Right now we don't live on a farm, but we do have friends that have farm animals, and I very often will tell my friend or my kids, let's go have farm therapy. And what's really beautiful about that is my friend who has farm animals will go and we'll help her clean out the chicken stalls and re-put down sand or whatever it is she's doing that day. And she's often said, it's so refreshing to have you as a friend, because there's a lot of friends out there that are looking for me to entertain them, that are looking for me to just sit and do nothing or whatever. It's like versus this is what I have to do today, and you want to spend time with me, and you're willing to just kind of pitch in, and we can talk and we can have time and we can socialize, but we're working and we feel better as people. We got the job done, and everybody just feels uplifted in that. And I think so much of that is that small town upbringing from farm life where you just did it. And if somebody else was around, they just kind of helped you out because they could tell you had a job to do.
That's really incredible. I think about the pull in my life too, to when somebody wants to hang out, it means I have to stop everything, but everything doesn't stop. And so I just really love that. Tilo, on to you to welcome our guest. Your microphone is muted.
Welcome, Tiffany. It's great to have you on the show. I am particularly charged by your triumphant approach to everything, entirely everything. Just hearing you speak and just all the things you've had to overcome and how far you have come. and the obstacles you faced, many young women today can learn a lot from you. I look forward to further delving into where you've been and what mountains you've had to climb.
Thank you.
Yes. Yes, hi. From Australia, David. Pleased to meet you. I've been to Prescott a couple of times now. I guess that's where you're situated, but I haven't been to Tennessee. I've only seen it in films. We have farms here in Australia, and I live in a very remote area of Australia at this time. It's kind of jungle and animals, and not so much the farm kind, the ones that just hop into the yard and hop out again, those kind. But I do find it's. I wonder sometimes. I was brought up in a big capital city, and I wonder sometimes for the people who've made a choice of their life or through circumstances have to live in a major capital city, that they don't have the experiences that I have just waking up in the morning. I can interact with nature just standing on my porch, or go to a beach. In a major capital city, you have to drive nearly an hour and all that sort of stuff. So people kind of do it. But then when they get there, there's like 15,000 people. Whereas when I go to the beach, there's myself and 300 meters of sand and just the ocean. So I'm listening to what you're saying, and I'm resonating with you, because it's you've obviously had a farm upbringing and have nature at your fingertips type thing. And I think most people probably don't have that, or they might do it through a television set or National Geographic on the video, etc. So it's like we're talking through a Zoom camera. If it was a perfect world, we could all be in one room face to face. There's just another dimension to the energy that you feel from people. So yeah, welcome to the show.
Thank
Waiting to hear
you.
more.
You talk about farm therapy. My father had us all in nature from the very beginning of our lives. Every summer, we spent the entire summer camping. And I mean camping, I mean you don't bring food, you bring a tent, and you bring a sleeping bag, and you bring some knives, and then you have to go and get the firewood. You have to do all that. You live by the sun. Um, Also, I did grow up for a while in south central Pennsylvania. And so the bus ride to school was through all the cows and the pastures and all of that. But my father used to say to me, and all of us kids, I was one of six, if you're confused about life, if you're confused about people, if you're confused about a process that government is making you do, go and spend time in nature, and nature will answer all of your questions. So when you say farm therapy, I think nature therapy, just from my own upbringing. But before we get deep into what this translates into what you're doing today, let's go to the entertainment news, which we have not caught up on in a while. So we're going to turn it over to Lungani and the entertainment news. We'll see you the other side.
All right. I'm not going to take so much time. I'm just going to let you know the events that are coming up in August and September. Lungani Gwala, that's me. I'll be performing this Friday in downtown. It's near Montezuma, just opposite to the Porch Coffee Shop. If you want to come and check me out, come through. And also, there's Dancing for the Stars coming in September 9th and September 10th. If you want to travel and come watch me perform as well, come through. It's going to be amazing. I'll be dancing with Dr. Tang. It's going to be so amazing. That's it. That's it for today. And I'm just going to toss it back to the panel. Take over, Mr. Pike.
Hi again. I'm up this time, so here we go. From the beginning, how did you choose health and life and over defeat and death of your soul? Very interesting type of question, I think.
So just a brief background about my medical issues. I was born in a suburb of New Orleans, and we moved to Tennessee when I was about 8. My family had an 800 square foot farmhouse that we turned into a 2,300 square foot 2-story home. We were the labor. I went off to college and moved around a little bit, then joined the military, and divorced twice. I've lived in 9 states, and I just moved for my 33rd time. I have been 220 pounds. I have been bedridden for almost 7 years and suffered a lot of chronic health issues. In 2017, I recognized that a lot of my health issues were linked to mold toxicity that was exacerbated by military moves, moving from Texas to Alaska, Hawaii, and California. Our goods were shipped on barges. And also looking back, a lot of New Orleans and the surrounding areas are highly prone to mold because of the hurricanes, because of the humidity and the moisture. And I remember as a child, almost every home we were in, whether it was a relative or our home, everything was musty smelling. And you almost just accepted that as normal. So as someone who was blue collar, raised upbringing and moved around, very low income, typically low income housing has a lot of mold. Typically military buildings have a lot of mold because they're older. And in 2017, I found out about how severely damaging mold can be to the human body. And when I started doing my own sort of checks and recognizing that that's really what it was really hard to get assistance from doctors and specialists. And the insurance I had at the time through the military, it was really just that allopathic way where here's your symptoms and here's the drug you take. And that was not helping. I was feeling more sick on medications. I actually had to forego insurance, pay for all of my own care. I found a toxicologist and a neurologist that knew of mold damage. My daughter and I have been challenged with a lot of brain inflammation from the molds. I had rashes all over my skin and legs. And so much of that was within the last 5 years. I moved here in 2018. I found Prescott actually by scientific research. I had overlaying maps of smog areas, high altitude, of relative humidity year-round, relative cost of living, and I had circles around the globe or around the U.S. of where might be conducive for me and my daughters to heal from this mold toxicity. So that's how I found myself in Prescott. And, I really feel like from a young age, as we talked about that adaptation, it was always this sort of inner voice that just told me, just keep going, just keep swimming. Like whatever it was like, you got to find a way. And when I realized how ill I was and that insurance wasn't going to help with whatever I needed, I turned to that research, and I would research how other people were healing from mold, what they were doing, what modalities they were using, what treatments they were undergoing. And there were, out of 15, maybe one I could even afford to do. So I did that one 100%. I gave it my all, no matter what it was, 10 steps, whatever. And it was very rigid. There was no cheat days. There was no, I'm going to be lazy about it today. It was like, no, I need to live. And recently, I've actually recognized that this is the first place that I've lived that I haven't looked for someone else to care for my kids. And what I mean by that, I was so ill that I never thought I would see my 40th birthday. So every time we would move, I would find a friend that I aligned with that was raising their children in a similar way that I believed. And I would talk to them and say, would you be willing to fill out this paperwork to be my child's guardian if something really happened to me? And recognizing that recently, it was such relief, but also so congratulatory. It was kind of like Rocky, jockeying up the steps and, hearing Eye of the Tiger in the background and, just feeling that triumph that all of these things are culminating and recognizing that I am going to be the one that raises my kids, and I am going to be the one that lives a full and long and happy life. And so it's it's really been a challenge. But recently also, as we will talk a little bit more in a moment, it has shaped who I am and also what I do. And it's so nice to look back at my journey and look back at those challenges and not feel victimized and not feel like I'm in the suffering and in the mud, that it was meant for something. And I gained all of that knowledge and all of that wisdom so that I can share it with others, and so that I can pass it on to my children, so that I can help them understand what really happens when we're in a scenario, and we can see both sides of it. We can see all sides of it. We have options and choices, and what are really, we can take that breath and recognize what really the next step needs to be. But really that goes back to our intuition, to guide us. And so that's really, I feel like, what I've learned so much through all of these health challenges, the physical and emotional challenges, is really relying on that inner guidance and that inner wisdom of my intuition to lead me to that next step.
That's amazing. I wish I had known you in 2013. We had to move our academy out of an old church because when we went to renovate, it exposed that the entire, between the ceiling of the room and the roof of the church, was all black mold.
Oh,
So we
wow.
couldn't even, they had to close that building. That was condemned. We went to a new building and we rented it out, as we often do, because we have a huge studio and there was this incredible quinceañera and they had live bands and everything. And some of the young men had a little bit too much to drink. And one of them sort of fell down this short staircase of about 8 stairs and grabbed onto the railing and pulled it out of the wall, and it exposed mold. And so we had to then, we had to shut down immediately, but that they were able to do something about. And I have children and children and, what do you call it? Daughter-in-law, children-in-law that suffer from skin rashes. I'm going to look into molds. Anyway, David, on to you with comment on this.
Yeah, mold is an ongoing battle in tropical, where I live in Cooktown. We have very high humidity. We have nearly 80% most of the year, and then up to 90%. So in rooms that are even air conditioned, and yeah, it's just everywhere. So I'm very keen. You've got some obviously tips about this thing, but I guess the other thing is you're telling us that you've been through this journey. We don't know a lot. Doctors don't tell us a lot about the health effects. So I'm probably, yeah, I'm getting my dose of it every day, and I'm probably not aware or interested to hear what measures that you're taking. It's certainly not like Prescott, where I live. We've got vines, jungle, and lots of rainfall. So yeah, that's what we're living with.
The biggest piece of advice I can offer, what I've noticed in friends' homes or in business buildings, as you mentioned, Mr. Ludden, is access to fresh air, airflow. And, there's so many different facets in every industry. We can talk about the construction industry. We can talk about why we're not using more breathable materials like hempcrete for walls. But the biggest thing is fresh air. Whether it's even with monsoon season, we'll leave our windows cracked just a little bit so that there's airflow, but not enough where the rain's going to come in the home. If we have the heater on, if we have the AC on, that little bit really isn't going to make a huge difference in your electric bill, but it will continue to provide fresh air in your home. You can't really do anything about older construction, especially in bathrooms that don't have a window. But what we can do is we can find a good vent at a hardware store or whatnot that's really going to suck out that air and that moisture, leaving the door open after you shower, making sure everything is well ventilated, that it can dry. Those are really important so that you might not be able to do anything about what's already there, but we can sort of take measures of preventative measures for future.
That's good advice.
So when you said you came from New Orleans, the song "House of the Rising Sun" started playing in my head. There is a house in New Orleans they call the Rising Sun. Do you know it by the Animal?
Yes. Yes, my daughters and I love
And
singing that song.
how many Okay, so I read one of your write-ups about the Prescott's Wellness Expo, and as you so eloquently put it there, how holistic wellness is supposed to be. I'd really appreciate it if you could tell us about how animals, healing, nature, and the tremendous wisdom that is found in the natural world. Just
When in our intro, Mr. Ludden mentioned this a little bit about, believe he said it was his father reminded him that nature has the answers. And my daughters and I watched a documentary called Fantastic Fungi. I highly recommend it. It took us from the journey of mycelia in the soil, that really is the basis of all life forms, all the way up until psychedelics and mushrooms, but every stage in between. And when you really understand that root system that we all come from, we have that basis, so we can tap into that as a natural being. You know, the trees have their own way of talking to the other trees through the root structure and through the mycelia, where we can tell other plants on how to get more nutrients, or, you know, oh, this is happening in this tree, or there's this whole world of communication that we can't see, and it has to be felt and tapped into in other ways. It's not tangible, but it's there. But it's similar to those who have pets. Our pets always can tell what's going on with us, even before sometimes we know. We now have the technology to help train or recognize, actually what I would call it, not necessarily training, but dogs that can even sense cancer, or that your blood pressure or your sugar levels are off before you have a meltdown or a shutdown within your body system. And so much of that goes back to that wisdom and that knowledge. If we look at who we are and what we are, we're mammals. And but we're the only mammals that are actually the least intelligent in the natural world. You know, deer and animals that are out, bunnies, they're not eating these plants that are going to kill them. They just know. They know not to. Nobody taught them why they shouldn't. It was an instinct. It was innate in their nature. And so much of how we can come back to that is by observing the animals and the plants and nature. I drink a lot of traditional medicinals tea, as well as making my own, but I really love the tea time wisdom, I call it, and you get it on your little tea tag. And so much of what they're speaking of is about nature. And so every morning I'll read it to my kids, and we kind of talk about how that can relate to the human world, and how we can use that wisdom to interact with other human beings, so that we achieve a better quality of life for all of us. As Mr. Pike mentioned, you know, there are so many people that don't even have access to nature. I feel very fortunate that I can go 15 minutes down the road and be in nature, and even naked hike, you know, but so much of that is just being raw and being vulnerable and being surrounded by a system of biology that is truly supportive. And that's all it's there to do, is to support us. And when we're reminded of that, when we're in nature and we have a forest bathing experience, and we allow ourselves to tap out of the mundane and tap out of this robotic world that we find ourselves in, we really can bring ourselves back to that intuition and that instinct.
You are inspiring me so much. I can't even. I'm really old, and I want to get out there. You remind me of two things, and I'll be very brief. One is that I have a cat, and got the cat as a kitten, and immediately I would go to sleep, and the kitten would come and lick my nose, and then it would bite my nose, you know, and it was very annoying. Well, I just got a biopsy result a few days ago. I have skin cancer on my nose, right where the cat was trying to bite me.
Oh, wow.
And since they removed the amount for the biopsy, the cat is just standing and looking. It gets really close and just looks at my nose. And then soon I'll have the surgery that removes the rest of the cancer. But the cat knew way before I knew anything was wrong. And I was just, why is this damn kitten biting my nose when I'm asleep? That's all I could think. But the other thing is, we have javelinas in the yard. We have eagles, we have hawks, we have rabbits, we have a lot of little lizards and snakes and all kinds of it's like a zoo. And what we realized is that if we're out there and we are speaking in normal tones, like just like this, then the animals will come right up by you, they'll be around you. But when we go and we say, ooh, hey, baby, 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 make all these weird sounds we make to children and animals, they run away. And what I realize is that the animal, when we're speaking in a normal tone, we're just another mammal making its noise. When we make a different noise or a strange noise, then that triggers them something's wrong. Even though we're trying to talk baby talk to animals. I don't know what that's about, but anyway, so you remind me of those two things. Very, very interesting. David, on to you.
So the question that I was about to ask you, Tiffany, has been answered. You said you moved from Tennessee to Prescott, and it's the journey of escaping the mold and finding a place where you can live and bring up your children better. But I was just thinking of a couple of things. It was on Facebook, just an Indian chief talking about that people need to, he said, if you talk to the animals, they will interact with you. And if you go into nature and just ignore them, then they won't. So that was an interesting concept. That's Dr. Dolittle all over again, but not maybe literally getting a dialogue in English or something. But I work with the Indigenous people in Australia, and they're a bit like the Red Indians of North America and other Indigenous peoples. They work within the nature. It doesn't mean they don't hunt and use the nature for survival and for living, but they have a commune with it. And I find Celtic and Western Anglified cultures we like our property, we like our fences, we love our walls, we love to have things and ownership of things. And as you get closer towards nature, it's a common. It's the bear doesn't own the forest, and the forest doesn't own the bear. It's all shared, and it's all kind of working out in a harmony. But once we put our walls up, which is what happened in the colonization of this country and perhaps in the United States as well, the white people came and started fencing off zones of hunting and all sorts of things, and kept displacing the indigenous population. So I think that goes back to what I was saying about we've built cities and citadels where people have our walls and our balconies for a particular form of progress, but that's kind of not how nature works. It's the hawk is allowed to fly over the ravine and down the valley and end up in a tree. The fish is allowed, the wild fish or the whale can go, if it's not netted all around the world, can go globally. But yeah, it's a completely different mindset. And Ken just talked about how animals are attuned. There was also, I've seen some video clips of horses. Horses seem to be able to particularly can hone in on a human, and if they're ill and offer healing and that. So getting back to your saying how important the connection with nature is, I think that that was your comment. You said we're the least informed and educated of the mammal species. We do the antithesis. We put walls up, we put barriers, we put fences up. Yeah, it's just made me reflect a little bit anyway. So that's instead of your question. But anyway, invite your response on that.
So as you were talking, I was reminded of two instances that really helped me bridge that gap between the world we know as humans and reconnecting back to who we are as part of the whole. Everything in the globe, everything in the universe, everything is truly that connected. And when we recognize for what it is, that's when we find that harmony. When I was in Costa Rica for a Yoga with Horses retreat, I was helping them move the horses from the field back to the stables. And there was about, I think, 8 or 10 horses. And the gentleman said, you stand by the gate, and so that way the gate doesn't swing open. But if I lock it, it'll be too hard to unlock while all the horses are there. So I was kind of standing next to the gate so it wouldn't open. And all of a sudden, these horses just came rushing towards me, and the energy of that was so powerful. And in that moment, rather than trigger into fear of, oh my God, like what, you know, I'm fear for my life because of this power, is recognizing it for what it is and the awe, the beauty and the wonder that really just is. You know, yes, horses are wonderful beings with lots of power, and you have the power to stomp on me right now. But I'm here, and I'm looking for a place of coexistence. So I was triggered into, instead of fear, to recognize the horses for what they are and sort of be in astonishment and amazement of that power and recognizing that power over me. And then also essentially like in that moment, asking or being called into a requesting for coexistence. Similarly, the coastline of California is very harsh. And it really only takes one wave to consume you and you're gone. Through an undertow or anywhere really coastal, we have these huge ocean waves. And when I had rashes all over my skin, I had a provider that said, go into the ocean, help your body heal with that natural sea salt, the natural minerals. And I'm thinking, where can I go that's even safe, that I'm not gonna get swallowed up? So as I crept out into the water that day, I remembered back to Costa Rica, that same feeling of the horses, and then equating that into the feeling of the ocean and the power that the ocean has. That, yeah, you have the power right now to consume my life, and I'll be gone. Also, I would like to go back home and keep living and raise my kids and do all those wonderful natural life things. But I'm asking for your blessing right now to be in this ocean. I'm asking to continue to walk into this water and know that I'm going to be safe. And then I have to call in that knowing, and I have to be calm in that. And so much of my experiences have led me to be able to do that, to really find that place. And it was so wonderful and peaceful, and it was so moving. My kids recently came home from scout camp. There was an Arizona outdoor education camp for youth that was a free camp. And they came home and they said, Mom, I'm so glad you're my mom. And I started laughing. I said, okay, what did I do, right? And they said, everybody was so scared. And my other daughter said, yeah, even of daddy long leg spiders that don't even bite, they were just everybody was scared of everything. And they were telling me these stories of the other kids. And as I reminded them that we're all approaching life from different angles of awareness. And so we have to learn to acknowledge and respect that someone else's awareness is not the same as ours, but how can we come together and essentially guide them to where we are, or say whatever it is to help them have a different level of awareness. And my 12-year-old from the back seat says, oh yeah, Mom, I told everybody, my mom teaches me not to be fearful, but to be vigilant. And it was so wonderful for her to say that, and for me to get that acknowledgement from my children that I am modeling that for them. I'm sharing that wisdom with them, that regardless whether it's people or nature or whatever it is that we face, we come into it with a healthy level of fear, but we're vigilant. We're not scared that it consumes our life, or we're petrified or all of these things, but we acknowledge the outside world for what it is. And then we respect it for what it is, and we find that place of coexistence. I go hiking a lot by myself, sometimes only with a little switchblade knife, and that's about it. There are times where I have a feeling that instead of being strapped to my hiking bag, perhaps that knife needs to be in my pocket. And I don't ever know when that is, but sometimes I'll get those feelings and I'll move my knife so it's more accessible. Sometimes I'm hiking and that knife is in my hand. And then there are other times where I'm just like, you know, frolicking through the forest with not a care in the world. And, you know, if I happened upon a bear, I would hope to shake its hand. But it's the beauty in living in that moment and embracing that, and then recognizing that connection that we have with nature, and being respectful that it's their home too. And so much of us as humans, we've built a system of society globally of control, as you talked about, you know, the cities and the walls, and really, again, that awareness that we're facing in the world today is the balance. How can we now rebuild the bridges back to the society of control versus a global coexistence?
Before Mr. Park continues, like Mr. Ladden said, like you inspire so much. About 2 weeks ago, I attended an Indigenous Knowledge Systems conference about African astrology, cosmology, and all the ologies. And over there, it was so interesting to learn how before calendars, before clocks, before all this technology, how people used to live. I can't remember whether it was you or Mr. Ladden who said back in the day you used to live by the sun, knowing when the time of the month is coming, knowing when to sow, knowing when to reap, knowing when to stay indoors, knowing when to plan long journeys, what plants to use for what. These things are supposed to be innate, but we are kind of moving away from them and relying on external help. Indigenous instruments, even, a child, a baby of a certain age would blow a certain, I don't know what it's called in English, and at a time of year, and all the animals come out to listen, don't harm the child. And while the animals are listening in awe, the elders go to where the animals live and set traps, so that when the child is finished playing, then the animals go back to their dens or their hides, and then they get caught by the traps, and then that's food for the village. And so from this knowledge and oneness with nature, there's so much that can be achieved even in today's day and age.
That's amazing. Before we take a short break, um, I just, this is one of those things, we have certainly in internet broadcasts, boy, are there walls and buildings and castles and moats and drawbridges and all that. But it just it makes me hope that so many people out there are listening to this particular broadcast. There's so much in it. There's such wisdom, um, including with what you just said, Tilo, that we eat, we do hunt, we do, it is, it's a little bit like also what Tiffany was saying, that to the waves, to the ocean, you can take me, you know and of course, if the ocean does take a person, then everything in that person becomes part of those minerals and nutrients and sea salts and things that are so healing. But a life is lost. And that's, I think, another thing that happens when you live in nature, when you play in nature, when you're a kid and you're climbing trees and you get your foot stuck in under a rock, and you end up getting a bee sting and all of those things. It's not all just fun, but it's so much learning, and learning that as your daughter, I believe it was, Tiffany, said, you have to be vigilant. You really do. But that doesn't mean you have to be afraid. That also doesn't mean you have to conquer everything. It just means you have to, be right-sized and be what you are and who you are. So we're going to take a short break, and we're going to be looking at a little bit of nature, a little bit of ocean, and then we're going to come back and we're going to continue with this unbelievable conversation. See you on the other side.
To arrive in style, first you have to arrive.
Don't understand what's going on here.
The all-new fourth generation.
This is Lungani, aka Chocolate Kid Leo. Join our growing show, The Global Sunday. We stream live on YouTube every Sunday, 11:30 a.m. for American MT time. African time, 8:30 p.m. every Sunday. We host special guests. We give you latest news, global news, and the entertainment news. Click the link below if you want to find out more. Thumbs up and some hearts. Cheers.
Hi, my name is Ashley Christina. I go by Ash. Make time for what you love and for the people you love. Thank you for watching Global Sundays with Lungani.
What up, world? My name is Jesse Villegas. I'm originally from Phoenix, Arizona. Currently, I reside in Prescott, Arizona. I own and operate a coffee shop called The Porch. Work hard and be kind. You are watching Global Sunday with Lungani.
For those that don't know me, I'm a singer. I'm a singer who loves God. You know, I'm that singer who loves God. I sing with Him every time I ever sing. So I'm that singer that tells a story.
With anything in life,
Yeah.
there will be challenges, there will be hurdles and stumbling blocks, but I honestly think to make it, you need perseverance, number one. Secondly, you need dedication.
Welcome back to the Global Sunday Show. We have Tiffany in the studio. We're having a meaningful conversation. I'm just going to throw it back to my team so they can continue discussing these wonderful talks. Quickly, I just want to say hello to Luno Markets. Is saying welcome family. And then Pumalelo laphayana Nqubeko Mfalveli kwala athi laphayana Global Durban bese laphayana Luno Markets. Looking good, Tiffany. And then he or she is saying, we are nature. Powerful shout out to you, Luno. Okay, I'm going to toss it back to you guys in the studio. Please take over.
Thank you. You're watching the Global Sunday, and our guest today is Tiffany Seale, who is a healer, a visionary, and somebody everybody should listen to. So I have a question. Now we're going to talk a little bit about now some technical stuff. I have a complete training in reflexology and also in shiatsu massage. So you do modalities of reflexology and massage, but also Reiki, and they are all ancient modalities and they require training. How did you find these particular ones, and what was your training like in them?
Well, from about the age of 8, my dad was hunting on our property and killed a deer. And all I wanted to do was dissect the brain to figure out what was inside. Engaging in that farm life and engaging with the animals, it led me to that early space of just wanting to learn so that I can help. And I went through stages of wanting to be a pediatrician, of wanting to be a physical therapist. My early college education was in sports medicine and athletic training. And then after the military, when I wanted to go back to college and finish my degree, I wasn't sure of what I wanted to do, mainly because the standard education system of bachelor's and secondary, post-secondary education is very rigid. You have to follow their plan, and they're telling you what you need to know for your career, and that didn't resonate with me anymore. So I wanted to do something that was within that path to utilize the GI Bill money from the military. And so I went to massage school while I figured out what else I wanted to do. While I was in massage school, I did recognize so much that it was a calling. I got a lot of amazing feedback from my instructors, from people within the industry in Hawaii that were working, that I was partnered with. And I really took a real solace place in helping care for others. One of my clients in the clinical setting right out of school, it was an older gentleman. He was quite large. He had a lot of body hair. And I recognized the second time he came and requested me as his therapist that I have this unique gift to hold space for people that not a whole lot of us are able to do. It's really taking ourselves out of who we are and recognizing that regardless of how that other person looks, who they are, where they're from, all those other things that are gonna be different because we're all truly that unique, that we all do still deserve the love, the support, the care, the concern, the kindness. And when you find yourself on my table, that I'm able to just truly tap out and allow that to come through and give you that through your session. I went back to college because it was a goal of mine to finish my bachelor's degree. But while I was in massage school, I found out that the University of Hawaii at Manoa had a build your own degree plan. So I took the education I had prior to the military, my military experience, as well as what I really wanted to focus on, and I created a degree plan, submitted it to the college, and it was approved. And I furthered my studies in global anthropology, through food and medicine, cultural wellness, how other cultures were handling specific things, how our human geography globally has affected our wellness, and then of course furthered my anatomy and physiology studies and my plant medicine studies. And so much of that led me to building this sort of well-rounded wellness service business that I have now. Reiki is a new thing for me. I just finished my Reiki Master certification in tandem with my 12-year-old in April of 2022. And many of my friends who had experienced my massage sessions or had drank the herbal teas that I've made, they said, Tiffany, you already work with energy. Like, you're already doing Reiki. Why are you getting certified? Why are you paying for something that you already know how to do? And I said, well, mainly because I wanted to support my daughter in this journey, but also it helped me elevate that which I was already doing. So much of my path has been very innate, very instinctual. As I talked before, I was led to this. It was a calling, it was a purpose, and I just kept following that. And now it's just kind of been this like wonderful melting pot of healing services that I'm able to guide and deliver to others.
You're up, David.
I'm up. I'm still up. No. It's very early here in the morning, but I'm still up. I've been listening and I got engrossed in that. So I don't know in depth these modalities. I know little bits about them. I've had massage, I've had Reiki, I've had I think I've had reflexology. I think so. I've heard acupuncture, and they're very, very different. You mentioned the allopathic medicine and the training of doctors, and the Western medical model is very well. It's sort of based on science and those sorts of things. Not saying there's no science or information about anatomy involved with what you're doing, but I always find if I went like to an acupuncturist that they talk about the chi. And last time I went, they said something about I had low energy in bottom organs, and the most striking feature of the therapist was he tested pulses on both sides, on both wrists. Normally, you go to a doctor, and it's one wrist. You can choose which one it is, but this Chinese doctor was very keen to do both wrists, and I saw a difference in that immediately. And he said, "No, I'm checking different pulses that look after different parts of organs." So China, as we know, goes back millennia, as do the Hindu religions and other places. So I guess your journey into these areas is like climbing Everest. You must feel you're at base camp. As you get into it, there's more and there's more and there's more and there's more and there's more. And I guess you've got yourself obviously enough into it and to a level that you can render help to people. So that's a good pragmatic outcome. Otherwise, you could just spend lifetimes training. But yeah, so I don't know a lot about these things, but I do know that the philosophy that underpins a lot of these alternative medicine and practices is very different from the way that in Western. I'm trying to think of the word, and it'll come to me after the show, of course. But we break things down. That's what I'm trying to say. We go to the finer detail of things. It's top down. So if you want to know about a cell, you go down through the body and you go into microscopes, and then you go into the mitochondria and you break it down microscopically, and you look at things. And then if you're working in that area, you say, well, now I know how that works. I can see that they're the energy center of the cell, and these are the nutrients that you need to put in. Just like with medicine and pharmacy, it's like which particular chemical that the native people in the area have been using, which is the exact chemical that's the benefit out of the coconut or whatever it is, or this particular leaf. And of course, they go into the laboratory and they boil the leaves, and they use all sorts of methods, and they come up with the smallest part of that. And straight away, and I think you probably answered this immediately too, is that nature's always in balance. So when you have the healing chemical that the drug companies will make in a concentrated form and throw it into your body, when you take a piece of a native berry or something, it's in balance with the whole berry. And so it's this philosophy, which I want to come back to, is that the reflexology, the massage, the wear of the chi, the ki, it's about the context of how healing is applied. It's looking at it holistically and in balance. It's not getting to the finest unit, saying that we understand something and then concentrating it and basically doing nuclear work. We nuke ourselves. Is that how kind of you see it? I'm on the journey of discovery here, so.
Yes, and so to shed some light on energy, we can look on a lot of what Tesla did, a lot of what Einstein talked about. We know that the energy is there, and there's a lot that we can't see. But this has also been tested. I don't know the names of the scientists. I didn't remember all of them, but there have been published studies. The water test has been a big one. Plant tests, the way we talk to plants, the way we interact with plants, everything is the same, but this one we're yelling at and this one we talk nice to, and how that affects the growth of the plant. The same with water molecules. It has been tested where they take water and it's very, exert negative energy towards that water, and it shifts the molecular structure. And you take another same water source and you exert positive energy, and it shifts the cellular structure. And one is destructive, and it literally bursts cell walls, and the other one actually repairs and reproduces. And so when we take that same concept, and which has been essentially coined and termed metaphysics, where it's mixing the true physics of things, that that there's energy always running within our body, within our core, and everything else around us. If I smash this desk, it's going to hurt because the exerting energy force that I put out, but also that the energy within that desk is very finite. So it's immobile. But we take that larger perspective on cells and energy, and we apply it to a being, whether it's an animal or whether it's a person or a tree or a plant or whatever it is that we want to grow. And that growing occurs more positively when we give it the positive things. And going back to the holistic approach, if we didn't do our oil changes in our cars, or we didn't do our tune-ups, if we didn't vacuum our homes, if we didn't do all of these things, there wouldn't be sanitation or progress. But we forget that we actually have to do that to our bodies as well. It's the equivalent of putting diesel in an unleaded tank. That you're going to kill that engine. And that's what's happening on sort of a global aspect to humans, is that we're putting diesel in our unleaded tanks. We're filling our bodies with things that aren't actually producing progress and growth and positive ways within our beings. And so much of that is just coming back to the awareness of this well-oiled, well-designed machine by our source, global energy or universal energy, God, the universe, whatever it is within your belief system. We have been created as whole and perfect. And when we feed ourselves those things that allow our beautiful machine to operate positively, we see growth, we see passion, we see progress, we see quality of life, we see elevated levels of happiness, reduced levels of depression. And all of that comes from really at its core feeling loved and supported unconditionally.
I, on the other hand, am hearing of most of these therapies for the first time. For example, Reiki, I have not heard before of Reiki. I've known about reflexology existing, but I haven't, I didn't know any of the particulars of how it works. So maybe in the methods that you practice, I'm a little bit interested in whether you have found anything that was unable to be solved. Maybe if someone had come for a consult and using the means that you do, is there anything that you haven't been able to fix? Because it's very likely that I believe that this is what the ancient people, the natives, the indigenous people, how they used to practice healing. And so I've been curious about whether back in the day there were incurable diseases and so forth.
So going back to like a village mentality, you trusted that the medicine man or the shaman or the herbal woman or whoever it was, you knew there was a knowing within you that they had the answer, and whatever it was, they would tell you, they would make their suggestions or tell you what to do or drink this tea or do whatever it was, and your belief system was that they knew, and you would do that and it would shift you. So much of that is the power of thought. And one thing that is very prominent, if we look as well as like do Taoism and Buddhism, the law of attraction and the power of thought really relies within the individual. So if someone walks in my door and is already skeptical, I'm not going to be able to shift that. That's within their being. And so much of being a Reiki practitioner and working with energy through whether it's making a tea or doing hands-on healing, even massage. I actually can tell when someone comes to me and they're not able to receive. And so much of it is about the receiving the energy, receiving the love, receiving the healing. Are we open as beings to receiving healing, or are we so closed off and stagnant and stuck in our thought processes, well, nothing's going to heal me? Okay, then that's what you've decided. You know, if you've decided that you're not going to heal, or you attach yourself to a diagnosis per se, we're labeling things rather than allowing it to be sort of unlimited and flow. And so when you look back at that village mentality and see the wisdom of that person, they learned by shared knowledge. And when we go back to learning by shared knowledge through mixing the textbook knowledge and mixing the intuition and mixing the energy draw, that's how we can ignite healing. So going back to what you said, have I seen people that will come and essentially either come back with the same issues or report that, you know, their whatever it is isn't shifting? And it's just a kind reminder, knowing that I truly have no control over their journey, and they have no control over anyone else's journey, and only they can decide when they're ready to shift, when they're ready to heal, and when they're ready to move in whatever progress that means. So as an energy practitioner, as a massage therapist, really learning that healthy level of detachment. Now, I have had amazing stories where an elderly client came in, he was limping. He said, you know, my gout's flared up over the weekend, and, you know, I'm just kind of having a little issues with my foot. And I'm like, okay, you know, let's, you know, we'll see what we can do. And so normal massage session, just focused a little more on just kind of holding his ankle and just sending it some energy. And because of my anatomy background, I'm very visual in my thought process. So I'm watching in my head, you know, the circulation flowing through his foot and clearing out those crystals that are causing that gout, and all, you know, within seconds of just sending that energy to his body. And by the time that was sort of at the end of him being face down, and then once I finished and asked him to turn over, he said, I don't know what you just did, but my foot feels better. And he walked out not limping. And it's so much just helping the body, giving it, like reminding it what it's meant to do. And just having those visual processes, and then sharing that energy with the person in front of me. But I can't be attached to that. It's not my journey to decide. It's within their energy body and within their thought process, if they can receive. Typically, if someone comes to me, whether it's for massage or nutritional consulting or herbal wellness, I can usually tell by about the second or third time, and I'll find a way to sort of have that very vulnerable, uncomfortable conversation. Hey, I'm noticing that you're not really open to these therapies, or, you know, I'm feeling a lot of restraint in your energy. You know, can we talk about that? Or, you know, perhaps I can help you find somebody that you resonate with more, or another therapy that you resonate with better. Going back to that, we're all in a different place and a different level of awareness. So regardless of where somebody is in their healing journey, in their life journey, I'm not everybody's cup of tea. That's why I make my own tea. And, you know, and that's okay, you know, and being okay with that as a therapist, and being okay with that as a practitioner of wellness, and knowing that I can share what I know, and I can offer whatever guidance that they're looking for. And then ultimately that's my side of the table, and that's my side of the bridge. And I leave the door open for them to come and essentially show up on their journey and meet me in the middle.
You know, I want to circle back to something you said about the water. Alpha Lowe's father is the actually the physicist, or yeah, I guess he's a physicist, who did that initial research on the water crystals.
Yes.
And I work a lot with Alpha, and I know that he and his father have come out with a product that is called Double Helix water, and they have figured out this way of infusing the water so that when you add it to food or other water, it realigns it. And so that your body can absorb the nutrients better and all of that kind of thing. It's incredible. And I'm sure that Lungani will remind me so we can put a link up somewhere for that, because it really helped me. But I also wanted to say, about that, maybe that's what happens when we pray before we eat.
Yes.
Maybe because it's called saying grace. And if you are bringing that grace to everything you're about to consume, it transforms it. And I never, ever thought about that.
Yes.
In the Catholic Church, it's called transubstantiation. It's when you're taking something and turning it into something else so you can take it in, and it
Yes.
can imbue your entire being with that kind of a positive energy. I just never connected those dots before. So thank you again. This is just revelation after revelation, and I'm old, so it's really exciting to really
And
get
if
it.
I may interject,
Sure.
I grew up in the Catholic Church, and I actually even recently had someone schedule a session and almost immediately call me back or text me and cancel because I used the term witch on my website. And I don't use it very flamboyantly. But if you go in back to the wisdom of these things, like you said, Reiki is an ancient practice. This has been around almost like predating Christianity and predating a lot of the belief systems that we now embody. And it really at its core is the same. Prayer and Reiki are the same. We're bringing in that God energy. We're asking for blessings. And that's really just channeling the divine energy of that which we know. Whether we're praying, whether we're meditating, whether we're performing Reiki, or, sharing that with our fellow beings in a hug. It really is at its core, we're pulling from that same source of love. And I use the term witch mainly because in that turn of the century, as Mr. Pike talked about, the allopathic way is really about like control. You take a symptom, you take the chemical constituent of the plant, which is only a one-noted thing, but plants have so many chemical constituents. And when we go back to that whole person wellness, the village mentality, the label witch came about because of that. Women were the healers. We were we knew that well-rounded nature and how to utilize that whole plant form and how to really bring in the energy with the mind and the body, and it became this holistic aspect. And when the turn of the century, and this, please feel free to look this up, when we had that turn of the century and when we had, I think it was late 16th century with the witch hunts, it was right around the time that Big Pharma was coming on board, medical doctors, schools were really promoting men to be the main healers, essentially doctors. And the first textbook written about how to have a baby was written by a man. And men don't have babies. Like when we think about some of these things, it takes nothing away from who a man is, but it does take a lot away from who a woman is and what a woman truly embodies. We are the nurturers. We are the healers. And when we allow ourselves to be in that feminine energy of healing, we were called witches. And whether or not a baby was stillborn, we don't know. We weren't there, but there's all these reports of the witch midwife that would kill the baby. And we don't know because we weren't there. How do we know that that baby wasn't stillborn? How do we know that there wasn't a defect, that the baby wasn't going to live anyway? And I'm, of course, playing devil's advocate here, but going back to, like you said, praying, it really is the same energy. Are we embodying love? Are we embodying grace? Are we embodying compassion? And we want to bring that into things we consume, the people we're surrounding, our bodies, and that finds true wellness.
Tiffany, you make a lot of sense, and I'm learning truckloads. Would you like to take a break? How about we take a break and come back and delve into a little bit more of
Okay.
what this rock of a woman is about?
Thank you.
I wish you were closer.
Aw. Virtual hugs.
To arrive in style, first you have to arrive.
Don't understand what's going on here.
The all-new 4th generation.
This is Lungani, aka Chocolate Kid Leo. Join our growing show, The Global Sunday. We stream live on YouTube every Sunday, 11:30 a.m. for American MT time. African time, 8:30 p.m. every Sunday. We host special guests. We give you latest news, global news, and the entertainment news. Click the link below if you want to find out more. Thumbs up and some hearts. Cheers.
Hi, my name is Ashley DeChristina. I go by Ash. Make time for what you love and for the people you love. Thank you for watching Global Sundays with Lungani.
What up, world? My name is Jesse Villegas. I'm originally from Phoenix, Arizona. Currently, I reside in Prescott, Arizona. I own and operate a coffee shop called The Porch. Work hard and be kind. And you're watching Global Sunday with Lungani.
For those that don't know me, I'm a singer. I'm a singer who loves God. You know, I'm that singer who loves God. I sing with Him every time I am to sing. So I'm that singer that tells a story.
With anything in life,
Yeah.
there will be challenges, there will be hurdles and stumbling blocks, but I honestly think to make it, you need perseverance, number one. Secondly, you need dedication.
Welcome to the Global Sunday News. Today is August 14th, 2020. Reporting for TGSN, I'm Kenneth Ludden. The Russian invasion of the Ukraine and the subsequent war that it caused continues beyond 6 months now and shows no sign of easing. Global support for the Ukrainians has allowed them to protect their country and keep the Russians at bay. They have severely pushed back the Russian army, depleting their ranks, and hobbled some of the Russian ships, planes, and weapons and fuel depots. If there is any way you can help, please help. There are millions of displaced Ukrainians, and the majority of those are children, the elderly, and women. Volunteer, donate, give safe haven, and urge your governments to support the Ukrainian army in every way they can. This summer has brought clear evidence of global warming, with record-breaking heat waves, bizarre storms, more wildfires, and more severe melting of the polar ice caps. As the impact on our lives that scientists have predicted for decades now hits us everywhere around the world, it is imperative for nations to take action. Some countries have done this, and one can only hope it will soon catch on. In China, there has started to be an internal collapse. It began with the bankruptcy of the Hunan Bank. Scores of private citizens have lost their entire life savings due to corruption by the top bank executives. Yet, when depositors took to the streets to demand action, they were silenced and then they were disappeared. The Chinese economy is in collapse, and very large corporations are folding every month. To cover for this, the Chinese military has made a very big show of aggression against Taiwan and support for the Russians' overreach into the Ukraine. On the COVID front, COVID continues to ravage the world, though it is no longer in the news. Remember, every winter, the seasonal change brings widespread illness of all transmittable viruses, and COVID will be the most dangerous. There are still daily deaths from COVID of over 400 people in the United States alone, every day, and huge upsurges in infection rates around the globe, even though people have stopped testing and required testing. So it has become an invisible foe. But it no longer gets much attention. So I beg you to be safe and follow public health measures. And as you're hearing in today's broadcast, there are a lot of natural health measures you can follow as well. Now, COVID and the climate crisis came together in the month of July at airports around the world. When COVID began, airlines and airports simply dumped nearly all employees. Those people had to find other jobs, and particularly jobs that gave them job security. One of the biggest problems was that that the airlines dumped pilots. Now, when they're hiring back pilots, any pilot who is above the age of, say, 48, they don't hire them back, even though they are the ones with all of the experience, because they're treating them as a new hire. And this is happening in many sectors of the transportation business. Now, airline companies were given massive injections of funds to keep running, though several did close permanently. So the airlines were fine for the most part. Now, in July, when awareness of COVID slipped, those airline companies were more than happy to fully book aircraft despite inflated ticket prices, largely due to higher oil prices due to the Russian war in the Ukraine. The problem was that airports and airlines themselves remained grossly understaffed. So millions of travelers became stranded at airports all over the world. I was traveling through Heathrow Airport. Now, I have to have oxygen because I have long COVID, and I have to be taken to through the airport in a wheelchair. It took me 11 hours to get a wheelchair. And of course, I missed all of my flights. But my drama was not the drama of the day. The drama was that very day in Europe, 60,000 people lost their flights. They were canceled. At Heathrow alone, 4,000 flights were canceled. But there was no ground staff in the airport to deal with the people. This unbridled corporate greed, inhumane corporate response to the COVID crisis, and narrow view has caused very real damage to citizens who have no subsidies to rely upon. And now airlines are finding every legal loophole to avoid reimbursing travelers. It is a travesty. Finally, in the news, in the United States, the past weeks have brought the congressional investigation of the January 6th insurrection into public view, exposing the flagrant crimes committed by former President Donald Trump and his street gang of thugs. And most recently, it was discovered that he had stolen 20 boxes of classified documents for which he could serve as much as 26 years in prison. And yet, he and his fellow anti-democratic cronies continue to do everything in their power to avoid paying for their crimes and perpetuate the lies that have propelled this crime wave. Take a moment. Think about the children. Be an example of the truth for them to follow. Follow ethical rules for yourself so that you show them how to act responsibly, honestly, and as good fellow humans. It is up to each and every one of us to set that example. That way, future generations will have good examples and be able to think for themselves and learn good, positive lessons to live by as they mature and ultimately take over running this world. Thank you for watching the Global Sunday News. I'm Kenneth Ludden, and now we will return to our ongoing program with Tiffany Seale.
To arrive in style, first you have to arrive.
Don't understand what's going on here.
The all-new fourth generation.
This is Lungani, aka Chocolate Kid Leo. Join our growing show, The Global Sunday. We stream live on YouTube every Sunday, 11:30 a.m. for American MT time. African time, 8:30 p.m. every Sunday. We host special guests. We give you latest news, global news, and the entertainment news. Click the link below if you want to find out more. Thumbs up and some hearts. Cheers.
Welcome back. In the green room during the break, we have had a discussion, and both Mr. Pike, Tilo, and myself, we all have questions, but they're kind of related. So we're going to ask all three of our questions, and then we're going to let Tiffany just make sense of it if she can. All right. So my question is, you found some fellow travelers on your mission to heal. And the three of you have built a beautiful service here in Prescott. Mine is, who are your partners and how did you meet them? Now, Tilo?
My question is, you have an upcoming event called Prescott Wellness Expo. Can you tell us more about it, the purpose behind it, as well as how your business came into being?
And David, what's your question?
Okay, well, we are in a time when awareness of challenges that women face is keen. And what are some of those unique challenges and how do you bring healing?
Thank you for allowing me to address these very important issues. So, my fellow travelers, I often thank my two daughters for choosing me to be their mom, for allowing me to be that soul birth giver for them in this world. And the three of us really are a force. And it took a lot of strength and struggles to realize that that's who we are. And we've been at events, and I've had perfect strangers walk across parking lots to thank me for bringing my kids to these events, for sharing just joy and love with the community. And it's so beautiful to watch our community watch us, the way we interact, the connections we have. I have a lot of moms that are like, I really hope that when my daughter gets older, we have a connection like I see in you and your daughters. And it's so wonderful to watch that just as we're living our life together in the connection that my daughters and I have, that it's helping other people sort of model that for them, and they're finding ways to instill that more in their families and in their lives. So that's who my partners are, and that's how I met them. It's my 17-year-old daughter, Sarah. She has a passion for life, and she is just a light for a lot of her peers, a lot of teenagers. She gives a lot of hope to adults looking at our youth, our future leaders. And my 12-year-old, even as early as 2 days ago, I dropped her off with another homeschool family to have a day out in nature while I had business meetings. And I got a text, how well-rounded she was, how very well-spoken she is. She had such great manners, and it's so lovely to see that as they're interacting with others and families, we are creating this healing and uplifting environment. And how did my business come into being? Well, I went through 2 divorces, and both of those divorces, I found myself in this place of nothingness, in this place that, you know, with destruction comes rebuilding. And I wanted to make sure that there was sustainability if I'm going to build something else. And it wasn't attached to any other external entity. The case in point, a man in my life. Growing up Catholic, I was in that mentality of being convinced that I was nothing without a man in my life, that I was basically worthless as a woman. I can't be anything on my own. And raising 2 daughters and having gone through the challenges we did, especially after my last divorce, I wanted to make sure that if I was going to build something, it was going to be something that it had longevity, it has sustainability, and it has a far reach. Not only for myself and my daughters, but for our community. So our community wellness corporation is called 3 Goddess Gardens, a space to nourish seeds of change within ourselves and throughout our community. And just like a well-rounded soil body, we create compost from lots of different things. And in our life, we have all of these facets and compost that we put together that become our soil. And the seeds that people plant in our lives based on our experiences, we choose which ones to grow that are going to benefit us, and we choose which ones aren't really going to be for our highest good. And so everything can be really related back to the scenario of a garden, of a well-enriched soil, of planting seeds. You impact your seed with lots of pressure underneath the soil. You're in darkness, you're getting water, you're waiting to just sprout and see the light. And once you see the light, you're just growing and growing and growing. So much can be said about our journey of life based on watching the life cycle of plants in a garden. So that's my business. And our debut event was in April. Excuse me, we did the Prescott Wellness Expo. Is a 3-year vision that I had watching over the course of my adult and professional career, that everyone was really focusing on their niche, which is wonderful. We all have our talent and our special thing. But when we're only focusing on of a pie, if we're only going to eat that one piece of pie and we can only eat a bite per day, the rest of the pie is going to get moldy. It's going to get gross. It's getting forgotten about. And that's sort of how we can look at the 8 dimensions of wellness. If we're really only focused on our physical wellness, our mental wellness and our emotional wellness and our relational wellness and all of those things maybe fall to the wayside because we're all about fitness and we're all about eating healthy, and we're forgetting that there's so many other facets of wellness. So the Prescott Wellness Expo is designed to be a 3-day wellness conference where it's an open platform. It's a community platform. You come with your passion, your brick, essentially building our community platform where we can all stand and shine in our passions, in our glories, in our purposes, whether you're an electrician, a mechanic, a knife maker, or you're a nutrition consultant, because everything truly has its place in our community. So when we talk about the 8 dimensions of wellness, we have physical, mental, financial, environmental, which of course we talked about mold, occupational, spiritual, our values and belief systems, intellectual, are we embracing a life of learning and knowledge to grow, social, our relationships, how that affects our being, and our emotional, our thoughts and our feelings. And when we come to the table and we start sharing that knowledge, teaching people how to fish so they're not having to go and look for food. Mr. Ludden, you mentioned as a kid the way that you went camping. That shaped you and taught you skills that not a whole lot of people have. Over the last 2 years with the COVID epidemic and things that we have been talking about, what I've recognized is one general theme. And regardless of what side you're on and your personal belief systems, we're wanting more freedom. We're wanting to feel sovereign in our being. We're wanting to feel like we can do what we choose with our life. And with freedom comes great responsibility. And with responsibility is caring for our bodies. And the average person has not been given the skills, the tools, the knowledge to really care for their bodies in a well-rounded sense. So the Prescott Wellness Expo is really about allowing anyone, local or statewide across Arizona, to come to this community platform, speak. If you want to host a workshop on how to tie a knot, if you want to do yoga or meditation or any of the facets, if you're in finance and you want to teach people how to have a well-rounded budget, a well-balanced budget, these are things that in the past we learned in school, we learned from our community members, we learned from other people, and because we've been so disconnected and so detached from our wholeness, we can now come back to the table and bring that back into our communities and revive humanity in a way that we're meant to connect and share the wisdom and the knowledge that we all have. So that'll be coming up in Prescott, Arizona, September 16th, 17th, and 18th of 2022. We'll have 3 days of speakers, of wellness workshops, and we'll have a harvest meal provided by a local chef on Friday night. On Saturday, we are aiming to have a community wellness family festival where we'll have some carnival games, some nonprofit organizations raising money for their community outreach. And then on Sunday, we'll have a whole day of vendors and speakers, whether it's religious and spiritual or other facets of wellness. And you can come and gain some knowledge and tools and share that within your family members. And then let's touch on the challenges of women. I have allowed myself to be open and willing to work with whomever's coming to the table, whoever wants to come to the table. What I did learn from a very young age is my mother was what we call I was unmothered. She wasn't able to embody that nurturer within her. And knowing that she lost her mom when she was 16, I always allowed myself to have compassion for that space of, oh, she didn't have a mom, to sort of rely on, so she doesn't really know how to be a mom. And I felt that she was sort of my first and biggest bully in my life. And what I recognize as an adult is not only that I have a lot of compassion for her level of awareness, but also it wasn't just my mom. As women over the last 200 years, we've been in this paradigm of divide and conquer. So as a woman, we're looking at other women of what they look like, how they are, how much, all of these things that we're judging them rather than straightening their crown and saying, you're my fellow sister. And at its core, it's coming back to that belief system that we're sisters and we're not in competition. Let's collaborate. Let's really come together as the powerful women that we are. And the way that I approach that problem within my community is I often host women's gatherings and women's circles where we can come together and remember that sisterhood. I've been a part of a lot of sisterhood circles where we're healing those sister wounds. We're apologizing for all of women to our fellow women. And then we're thanking our fellow woman for being in a space of wanting to heal and so that we can all grow. And then our families are stronger because the woman is carrying that nurturing piece. And our friendships are stronger because the woman's there to remind each other of love and that we're not fighting. We're not insecure because I'm friends with a man and you're dating that man, or I'm looking at you as competition because I've got this man and you're prettier than me, or you do better in business than I do, or there's all these things that we get so consumed with rather than coming back to the table and honoring and acknowledging the strengths that we all have.
I have an experience I had. I was giving a 2-week workshop in Denver, Colorado at a yoga studio. and it was a workshop on vision and how to meditate and receive vision and what to do with vision. And in the process of that, it came up the subject of the balance between yin and yang. And in the break afterwards, a woman came up to me and she said, I didn't really understand what you were saying about the balance. And I said, well, what do you mean? And she said, well, I mean, yin is good. And I said, well, okay. And she said, like yin, woman, good. And I said, so what about me if I'm not a woman? And I said, does that mean young man bad? And she said, oh yes. So so that was about 20 years ago. Okay, we've come a long way, but I think it would be very good for our viewers if you would also then talk about the place of men as
Yes, I
women
would
are
love
finding
to.
their unity and their empowerment, how we work together, because so many young men now are they're kind of starting to feel a lot of abuse. There was a show that was on a television series that was called The White Lotus Hotel. And in that, the mother kept having to defend her son against her daughter because the daughter was saying, I'm a girl, I'm better than you. And she's like, wait a second, so I think it would be great now that we have a global audience to sort of address that, because that's very key to being healthy.
I agree. Yes, thank you for the opportunity. I love speaking on this. Of course, this is from my perspective, just to preface that for all of our viewers, I look at the divine energies, as Mr. Ludd mentioned, the feminine and the masculine. There's balance within all of us. We embody both of those energies. Typically, not always, a male has a stronger yin, and a female has a stronger, male has a stronger yang, and a female has a stronger yin. And in the divine masculine feminine balance, that's essentially what we typically find. Not all the time, but that's typically what we have. So what I've noticed, especially as a single mom, having to be the provider, having to do all the things, having to make sure that I have a house, I have these things all on my own, it doesn't make me feel good to embody so much yang. And I feel better when I'm in my yin. I feel better when I'm just being the nurturer. I feel amazing. My health is better. My outlook on life is better when I'm able to just really be in my yin energy. That takes nothing away from the divine masculine that's meant to be in a presence of a wholeness. I've just had to learn how to balance my masculine and feminine within myself so that I can be in this time in my life. But make no mistake, I know I'm meant to be partnered. And recently when I was looking for housing and I was receiving a lot of backlash, go get a better job, go make more money. And I'm like, that's not my job. It's not my job to be everything. It's not anybody's job to be everything. Looking at the male, typically males that are, and research suggests that a married man lives longer, and not that that means that every marriage is blissful, but I watch as typically if men have a woman in their life, they're at least making sure they eat. They're making sure, like the woman in your life is kind of coming to you, reminding you to nurture yourself and to self-care. So that's that yin energy. The yang energy is that provider and that protector and that grounding and that strength that women just don't embody that. And learning as a woman what the yang energy really is so that we can in our core embody it, not in a way to be it, but that we can acknowledge it and respect it in the way that it is, especially as a woman who has had a challenge to heal from sexual traumas and from a lot of other abuse scenarios. I could have very easily fallen into that paradigm of hating men, of thinking man bad. But it's been a true gift and a blessing to look at that energy from a perspective of they're also receiving certain global and societal traumas as well as women. And so when we can come to the table and acknowledge that they have their place and they have their energy body and we have our energy body, and how can we symbiotically work together and what truly that divine energy is meant for us to be, we find that balance. And then we can honor them, because a lot of women are actually looking for men to be their best friend. They're not your best friend. Your woman friend, your sister is your best friend. Go talk with her. Go tell her all your problems. Your man is your partner. Your man is your divine protector and your lover and all those things. He doesn't want to hear about your drama. And, you know, but when we honor the man for who he is in our lives and not make him try to be like our woman friends. Equally, the man is looking sometimes for the woman to be strong and perfect and all these other things. When I used to tell one of my ex-husbands, he would say, you know, you get upset. And I'm like, cool. Can you come over and hug me? Because sometimes we all need that grounding, you know, and so finding that balance and that grounding within a relationship as well as just within our community, you know, how can we play off of that? I'm building a corporation, and that's typically more yang, and it has kind of taken me out of who I am, but then I'm recognizing also how I can build that corporation and stay within the nurture self that I am.
Well, I would like to also give a shout out to the transgender and gay people in the audience. You're not out of the picture. I'm a gay man. I've been partnered for 32 years by another man, and there's nothing lacking in that. So just to make sure that the heteronormative messaging doesn't preclude the existence of our, 10 or more % of society.
Yes, and as I mentioned, you know, we typically see male and female within or masculine and feminine energies within a male and female sexually, but regardless of our gender, we embody an energy, and those energies come together regardless of the skin suit gender that we have. Yes.
Right, exactly. That's brilliant. I think that we're wrapping up now, and we're into our last, we call it the last words, but that doesn't mean any of us is about to expire. It just means that our time on the show is about to be up. And so usually we let our guests go last. So why don't we start with Tilo? What are your last words for today's episode?
Well, I've been very privileged to be part of this panel because I've learned a lot in the past few hours. Before we part, I would just like to know from Tiffany how people can reach her.
Absolutely. How can people reach you? The internet or?
Yes, so my corporate website is 3goddessgardens.com. You can find out about our healing collective of services by our community members as well as myself and my daughters. And if you're interested in our community wellness efforts, you can visit PrescottWellnessExpo.com. We are on Instagram and Facebook as well, 3 Goddess Gardens and Prescott Wellness Expo.
Thank you, Tiffany. It's been a privilege
Thank you.
and an honor.
So what are your last words, Tilo?
So my last words are keep going. Keep going, you mighty woman of valor. You speak of past traumas, you speak of everything that you've had to overcome, you speak of so many triumphs, and it's easy for a person looking today at you to just assume, that it was easy to get to where you are or to discover the things that you have now become, an expert at. But I know that it took trial and error, and I know that it took tears and sleepless nights and loss of hair. And I just want to say, keep going, keep spreading that love. I'm all about spreading love, and that is the message that I'm getting from you when you speak as well. Like I said, I wish you were closer. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Pike.
Yes, we've come back after a spell with the show, and Lungani has surprised me. Tiffany as a guest is a bit different than some of the other guests we've had. Not that the other guests haven't been intriguing, but this is a different tangent. when I first heard about Tiffany, I thought, oh, is she an entertainer? And in a way she is, but yeah, there's some substance to today, which we'll put it in another way. There is substance with the artists that we talk to as well, but there's more resonation in general of life in these sorts of conversations, because we can focus on artistic careers, and we're all artists on the panel, and that's what we do, and that's very revealing. But it's also good to just unpack humanity. So with Tiffany and what she stands for and what she has been through, then we've had a nice long conversation this morning. I think Lungani should organise a part 2 as well. So that my final words is just well done, Tiffany, and not only surviving but thriving. It sounds like you're into the thriving zone at the moment. And as you thrive, then the people that are merely surviving or not quite surviving, they're going to have the betterment of those encounters. So I wish you all the best. It's lovely to meet you. And as I said to Lungani, there's so much that we've teased out in our look at these topics that I think there should be a part 2. That's my final words. Have a good week.
Thank you.
So I would like to say, and the producers may throw something at me here because I'm stepping on their toes, but I think in a part 2, it would be nice to have all 3 of you on the show. I think that would be an amazing, view of the interactions. And so now that I've said that on the air, haha, producers, I think it's a great idea. But I wanted to say that today, I'm 70, and even though every day there's something to learn, during the course of this conversation, it's not so much, it is learning, but it's more like revealed. Things have been revealed to me. In other words, I sort of knew that they were there, and I knew about them, and I've been trained in a lot of healing modalities, and I've had a lot of work with the worldwide network of ancient knowledge and all of those things. But so many things have been revealed here today that it is just astonishing to me, and I'm very grateful and really, really happy. Tilo, I don't mean to say anything, but I am here with Tiffany. I wish you were here with us too, but I'm glad that we are close. And Tiffany, what about your final words?
My final words is, I just want to speak to the audience. Regardless of what your struggle might be in this moment, or even if you think you don't have one, which is, we're always challenged with something. It might not be in this moment, but just remind yourself that there is love and support all around you. You might not know it's there, and it may not come from the source that you think it should, the person you think it should, but it's there. And when you rely on that knowing and that trust, it's there and it'll come. And I was looking for a home, and I had a lot of people that were, you're not going to find what you're looking for. You're going to have to store all your stuff and sleep on someone's couch or whatever it is. But I found a home, and I found a home in a wonderful neighborhood 3 days before I needed to clear the house I was living in. And I held that faith, and I had people on my Facebook tell me how inspiring it was to watch me manifest and know that it was going to come. And so I wish that for all of the viewers, to just, regardless of what you're going through, know that there is unconditional love and support for you at all times.
Wow. Thank you for watching. This is the Global Sunday Show. We sign off with greetings and salutations. We do hope to see you next week. Keep strong, keep long, keep going. Have a beautiful week further. Thank you, everybody.
Give it up for Tiffany. Thank you so much, Tiffany. We wish you all the best. You're such an amazing lady. And bye-bye to everyone who's watching at home. See you next time, the Global Sunday Show. Bye. Nice.
참사나 와 예수님의 아사리아뉴 너와야로 너와야로 예수리 가마 너와야로 호저시 참사나 와 예수님의
I just want to say thanks to all of you. I know, of course, globally the time zones and whatnot. I love technology for the tools that it is that we can connect even when we're not in the same house of vicinity. And I look forward to doing more of this. This is very new to me, and I've actually, I'm sorry, how do you say yours? Tilo. Yeah, so I actually got into astrology to be a better mom because I was always faulted for what I thought were my strengths. And I didn't want my girls to go out in the world and feel like who they are is wrong or bad. And so I wanted to help them understand who they were and how they can use that and adjust with the world, but not adapt to something else that they're not. But then so much, as you said, goes into the astrology, planting and all of these other things. We used to base everything we did off of the cosmos. And I love astrology for that reason, but I've had a Vedic astrologer, the Indian way of astrology, and a Western astrologer, both older, have done this for years, beg me to read my chart because they could tell there was something in me, but they didn't know what it was. And both of them were like, you're meant to be, spreading your message to the world and doing all these things. And I'm just like, y'all are crazy. I just want to shake people's hand and give people hugs. Like, I don't do all that. And here I am, now on YouTube. And it's been overwhelming.
Keep watching Sunday Global Sunday with Lungani. Global Sunday with Lungani. 사리아유키 예수리 가마 사리아유키 혼자 시키야 잠사나